You're listening to a Developer Experience Podcast, a podcast about the experience of being a developer, or really any person in tech. In this episode, I talk to my friend Pavlos Vinieratos. We try to figure out how many keys are on a keyboard. We talk about finding the line between tolerable manual repetition and something that needs to be automated immediately. And then we discuss dark and light mode switchers and why they can't read Pavlos' mind. Thanks for listening. So I guess, Pavlos, would you maybe want to tell me a little bit about yourself?
Yes. Hello, Steve. I'm Pavlos. I'm from Greece. I'm a developer. I've been doing mobile development for the last 7 years or something like that. Mostly React Native. I studied programming and then just kind of continued on that path. Yeah, and now we work together. We work at Artsy. And I'm.
And I did get to meet you in person twice.
Yes, which was really nice.
2021, which was both times were a surprise.
Yeah.
But both times were awesome.
Yeah, totally. I agree.
Cool. So maybe we can just jump into the kinds of tools and things that help you get stuff done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I thought about this a little bit, and after listing all of my stuff, so I tried to.
And it was a large list.
Yeah, it was. I tried to pay attention to what I use when I work for the last week or so, and then kind of make a big list of all of them, put them in order. And I have a list for the main ones, I guess, and it's definitely my keyboard. I feel like this is probably the top tool for me. I use the Things app for having a to-do list. Basically, I find that this is necessary for me. And then I have a couple others that are not super important, but I definitely need them or use them a lot, which is a good calendar app, which for me I use Fantastical, an easy way to switch to dark mode and light mode. Surprisingly, so yeah, I use one that's called Night Owl. And then as long as I have an editor with some Vim keys, I'm good to go.
Have you used Vim a lot in the past, or are you just familiar with key bindings?
Yeah, I've used the key bindings most of the last 15 years. I have tried to use Vim by itself, but it never stuck. I always find that the keys are the key bindings are the things I need. The actual application, I don't really mind as long as they have keys.
Right. And is the important thing for you that like you're getting your hands off of your mouse and keeping them on the keyboard? Is that why they're important?
Yeah. And it's one of the things that I definitely haven't mastered yet, but at least while editing, that's the thing that I do.
Sure.
But yeah, maybe we can talk about it on a later question. My mouse usage is not as low as I would like it to be.
Yeah, we'll certainly circle around to that. Before we do, though, do you think you could maybe tell me a little bit about your keyboard? That was the first thing you mentioned.
Yeah. So I have a mechanical keyboard, the custom one that I built. When I was thinking back to it, it was one of those things that it was just a completely random trial. I saw a cool keyboard that was split. I thought, let's try it. I tried it, I loved it, and then I just stuck with it. And from then I have changed maybe like 4 keyboards, all similar, but all different in specific ways. And I feel like now I have arrived in the one I like. So mine is, I guess I can describe it. It's a split one, so it's 2 parts, the left one and the right one. They are basically just like a mirrored image of one another. They are, I guess, 40%, which means I have, Q, W, E, R, the QWERTY part, and then a couple more extra thumb keys, and then that's it. So I don't have like an F key row, and I don't have a number row, that kind of stuff. So it's pretty small and minimal. And it's also how do you call this? Like a short travel. So they use, the closest I could get to a laptop's keyboard, basically. And then, of course, that's the physical part. But then on top of it, it's the layout that I use, which is very personal, I guess. I've made it my own through the last 4 or 5 years, and I feel very comfortable with it. And it's I definitely notice it when I don't have it. Trying to work for a week, without it, I definitely feel it. And when I go back, I'm like, I need this with me.
Do you find yourself just like hitting keys that should be doing something different, and you end up with like slashes all over the code?
Surprisingly, I don't. It's pretty easy for me to switch to, like my laptop's keyboard.
Sure.
But I definitely, whenever I need to, put the volume up or put the parentheses or whatever,
Sure.
I know where the other one is, but I hate where it is, So I like it where it is in my keyboard.
Yep. I don't actually know much about keyboards. You said something about it being 40%. Does that mean it's like 40 out of 100% compared to the size? Or is each one is 40 out of 50%?
No, it's the first thing you said. Yeah, so the 100% keyboard is basically, I think, 109 keys or something like that, which basically means the QWERTY part, the space and the shift control, all that surrounding part, and then the number keys, the F keys, and then the numpad on the side, and of course the arrows. So this is kind of the 100%, and then people when they remove the numpad part, they call it, I think, 80% or 10 key less. If you remove, the F keys, it kind of becomes like 70 or whatever, I don't know, 65. You remove some more, it becomes a 60. Remove some more, it becomes a 40. And I'm not sure if mine is 40 or 60, but something around there.
I'm going to spend the rest of the conversation counting the keys on my keyboard. But I actually did already count a little bit to find that the QWERTY part, just the QWERTY part, was I think 33 keys, something like that. So it's not much more than that if it's like 40%. That's pretty incredible.
So mine has 3 rows, and then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 3 rows and 6 columns on each side of the keyboard, which means some math. I don't know. 6 times 6, 36, I guess, right? Plus 6
36 extra.
So it's like 39 keys. No.
Yeah.
42 keys. Yeah, 42 keys. So I'm guessing close to 40%. Yeah.
That's impressive. It's really not that important. I just was curious. I wanted to dig into that a little bit.
Sure.
But I guess the question that I do have about this is, what got you into the idea of a fancy keyboard? Were there ergonomic issues or anything that kind of pushed you that way, or you just wanted to play around with some cool new hardware?
Yeah, no, I definitely did not start because of issues with my hands or anything. It was just that I saw the ErgoDox, it was called. I saw it online and I thought it looked really nice and really weird because it has this ortholinear stagger, it's called. So instead of having the top row, the QW row, and the ASD row kind of sideways
got it, the way
them.
that they're aligned.
Yeah, right. So this one has the alignment on the other side, and Q and A and Z are together, and then W and S and like whatever are slightly extra, right? Are slightly different. So I just wanted to use that and try and see if it's nice, if it's weird, if it's broken, I ordered it, and I had a really hard time getting used to it, but I really liked it. I saw that customizing the keyboard that you use every day, basically for work and for after work, is really important to me. So I thought, let's stick with it, and then I just kind of kept going and going. So I tried different software, I tried different layouts, I tried different keyboards, I built a bunch of stuff, and then arrived to what I have now. Does that answer the question?
It does answer the question, and I think it calls out something, a character or a trait of you that is definitely something I've noticed, and I think is neat, and that is you take the time to make things better in whatever it is that you're doing,
Yeah.
whether it's like the code that you're working with or it's like your personal flow. And I guess maybe I was hoping you could talk a little bit about how you approach, how do you make that
Yeah.
time? How do you think about it? How do you think about carving it out? How do you think about balancing it?
Mm. Yeah, it's a good observation, but yeah, I definitely do try to take some time to make things easier for me or faster for me, but it's definitely not for everything. Yeah, so when I was compiling this long list of stuff I use and do, I noticed that for some stuff I have little scripts and keyboard shortcuts or whatever, and then for other things I just do the most manual thing that takes me forever. And I feel like the division there is I don't know exactly what it is, but I feel like I have a very high tolerance of wasting time, my own time.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
then whenever I get to a point where I'm like, okay, this is taking way too long. Like even I cannot handle the fact that it takes me so much time. That's when I start using scripting it out or automating it in some way. But yeah, definitely it's been different for different things. So for example, I had and let me know if I'm getting too
No, this is
far.
great. Love it.
Okay. Yeah, so I used to have because I'm in Greece, but I live outside Greece, and I had some army issues, blah blah blah. The main thing of this was that I had to count the days that I'm in Greece, and I also had to count the days that I'm outside the UK for some like other legal reasons over there. So
Right.
basically, I needed to count days for both countries. And what I ended up doing, in the beginning, because I would forget, right? I would just write down the dates on a notepad, and then have like 30 days, and then once I go some days I would subtract some of it, and then
Sure.
next time I go I would subtract, and that was okay for a while. But that was not like I would have to find the note and like remember to always put it and blah blah blah. And then once I had the second country that I needed to count for, with different numbers, blah blah blah, I was like, okay, this is I needed more general solution for this. Um, and then I decided to start putting stuff on the calendar for the country that I'm in, and then if I needed, I could go back and count. And that worked for a while because then I had from every country and not just the two. And that was fine. But then again, going back to calculate did take some time whenever I needed it. So then in the end, I ended up making a little, create React app, and that I would just feed it dates, start dates and end dates, and it would just calculate it by itself. And I've been using that for a long time now, and I find that sometimes, I use it and I don't trust it 100%, but I keep convincing myself that like I did this and I know why I did this, so it must be right for that specific thing. So yeah, that's kind of
That's
the way that
hilarious.
I optimize, I guess. Do a little bit, see if that works.
Is the lack of trust because it's been so long that you touched it?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So, it could be that I was thinking something different or I had different assumptions, who knows?
Right.
But I
I
hope that,
forgot how many days there are in a month.
right, yeah. I didn't know how to use some like library or whatever. So as long as I don't change the functionality much, I guess I should trust it.
Yeah, for sure. That is fascinating. That's a thing I've never had to even think about. So it's kind of fun to hear about. I'm sure
Yeah.
it's like not fun for you to count, but
Yeah.
um,
It's been a weird issue to have.
so I think what I heard you say about how do you think about separating that time to like go back and refine and optimize your answer is basically like, I don't have any sort of hard, fast rules about it. It's just kind of once the friction becomes too great, I go and fix it.
Yeah, exactly. I know that
Okay.
there's this XKCD comic about how long it takes for something to be done and how often you do it, right? And then how long it
Yes.
takes for you to optimize the thing or automate, I guess.
Automate it. Yeah.
And I've definitely been in both sides of this, spectrum or whatever. Definitely I've optimized things or automate things that didn't really need to. And also the other way, where I just do the manual thing forever. And even though it would be easy to do it, I haven't done it yet.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like I'm really similar. I have a hard time telling you. You could present me with two scenarios that both seem like they're equally a pain. And I can't tell you which one I will automate and which one I won't.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of I don't know. Like I might just feel it one day to do one over the other. I would like to be more structured about that, but also, where's the fun?
Yeah, no, I feel like we probably both have some kind of specific rule behind this, but like we just haven't figured it out yet,
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe we just need more examples to find the pattern. Who knows?
Right. This is not really related. It's kind of related, but there's like two things that have happened to me that are kind of similar. That one of them had a profoundly different effect than the other. So one of them is me and my family used to go to this vacation rental place in the northern part of Wisconsin every year,
Okay.
and they didn't take care of it, and it kind of drove me mad. But like the symbol for me was this one garbage can lid that was broken for 7 straight years, where I was like, that garbage can lid has been broken for 7 years. You can't just go buy a new one and replace it.
Okay.
And we ended up leaving that place, and that was definitely for me part of the reason was the garbage can lid. Contrast that with like the back door of my house, which is broken and like a pain to close, and every day I just like open and close it and don't even think about it. But it wouldn't take much for me to go buy a new one and replace it. Instead I just like walk right past it. So
I can sympathize. I definitely understand and I get it. And yeah, I don't know. It feels like when it's your thing or when it's something that you're okay with your assumption of what you do and what others do that you use.
That's very true.
Kind of becomes hard.
Yeah. Like, is there more responsibility or ownership about it, or something that prompts you to fix it?
Yeah. Like I've definitely, speaking more about software, I've definitely stopped using stuff because I felt we're not working well, even though the fix would be pretty small. But I wouldn't be surprised if, someone else asked me to do a tiny fix on one of my software things. And I would be like, whatever, or like I can do it later. And then 3 years later, it's still there.
Yep.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yep. Cool. So that was all about your keyboard. It wasn't really, but some other things that you mentioned at the top that are important to you. You talked about an app named Things. Can you talk about that a little bit more?
Yeah, so I mean, Things is one of the many apps that exist to just have a list and check things out when you do them, or move them to later if you don't want to do them now, or just delete them, right? I always had this issue where I just forget things I need to do, or I just have a bunch of things that I need to do, and then I end up forgetting them again. So yeah, I've been using this for a while, for a few years now, and it's been alright. I've used different stuff before. I've tried different things. That's the one that it kind of stuck with me, I guess.
Sure. Does it feel like it's the one that's going to stick for a while longer, or do you have? Are there like rough edges where you're like, I might not use this anymore?
Yeah. The current thinking is that it would probably stay there for a while.
Cool.
Yeah, I've had things that I miss from it, but are not huge. I've had things that I thought would be great, and I tried to recreate them or build a thing for my own. But obviously, that will take a while. And then I've had other things that were better for me at the time, and then for some reason or another, I had to stop using them. So then things seems to be the best that I have and the best that I will have for a while. But I'm always looking, always checking for alternatives.
Yeah, I feel like I'm similar, where there's everything can get to about 80% of what I want it to be, and then it's a matter of which side of that 80% do I feel right now, and is it worth exploring something new? In terms of how you use it, is it like are you in there a lot during the day, or is it just occasionally like high level things that you can't forget about that are really important you put in there?
I'm not in there too much in the day. So usually how I use it is in the morning before starting with work. I would check what's up with the day. If there are things that are pretty quick, I will just do them immediately, work or no work. And if there are things that I need to do today but are for later, I usually put a reminder, so like a little alarm on it, because otherwise, once I close the app, usually I don't open it again until I need to add something new or until I go to bed. So if I need to do something in the meantime, like in between, the morning and the night, I usually would put an alarm on it. And if I end up not doing some stuff, it means that they were not for today, or they were not the highest priority for the day. So, and that's fine. They will just go to another day.
Yeah. It's pretty different, like than how I operate with those things, because I basically have them open all day long, and I'm constantly like moving things around to try to figure out what's most important to me right now. Not to say that that's the right thing to do. That's probably an anti-pattern, quite honestly. But
do you use it then for kind of logging, I guess, what you did, or know what you're doing? If you had like a 5-minute break, you can look at it and know what you were doing. Is that how you use it?
I don't use it retrospectively. So the one that I use is Todoist, and mostly I use it just to help myself try to find focus and remember what it is that I care the most about, because I tend to volunteer to do lots of things, or assign myself to do things, or with stuff even outside of work, like family things, registering my fifth grader for her sixth grade math class. Like we were supposed to choose which one, and we almost forgot to do it. But I remembered yesterday that we had to do it, so that went on my to-do list. Because the hardest thing for me is just remembering what it is that I said that I was going to focus on. Because I could easily bounce between like 7 different things right now. And then, then the other part that is nice about it for me is if I take the time to categorize the things on that list in terms of the amount of time that they take, which on a good day I do, on a bad day I kind of forget, or kind of get self-destructive and complain about it and don't do it. But on a good day, when I have that stuff in there, like that's really useful for when I have 5 minutes in between a meeting and I'm like, I'm just going to do this one thing that is going to take me 30 seconds. Because I can just look right there and there it is. And I remember what it was.
I'm sure I could definitely look at it more often, but I just end up forgetting. So I'm trying to not rely on it, and just make it work with my memory, and that's it.
No, I think what you're describing actually sounds almost like it might be better for focus, like to just anything that you don't remember just falls off. On the other hand, I guess if one of the things that I do struggle with sometimes is like, I do remember all of the things, and then it just becomes like those 7 different things are
Right.
stealing 30 seconds of my time in a cycle. And that's super not helpful, but yeah, I think if I could approach it in a way that like, okay, I'll look at it tomorrow to see what else needs to be on this list, but right now these are the 3 things, and then just those are the only 3 things I do. I think that would be really helpful.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. Another interesting thing about it is that even for me to open it up in the morning and do the morning scan of things, I guess, even that I forgot some days. So I ended up putting a reminder in things, a daily one every morning, to see, to just take a look at the task list and just do it. And that has been really helpful, because that's some days I'm like, there before the alarm, and some days I'm after. And that's okay. But, if I find that it works. One thing that I had to change is that I named this alarm like set day tasks or something like that. And then I was like, I don't like looking at this. So I renamed it to set day achievements, So I'm like, even if I do one, it's an achievement. It's good.
Yeah,
and if I end up doing all of them, that's great.
That is nice. I feel like I've heard, this isn't really exactly the same thing, but I've heard people say that about passwords, about giving themselves like really motivational and inspiring passwords.
That's nice.
So that every time they type it, they're like, you're a champion or whatever.
Nice. I've never heard of that. That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
You also talked about fantastical as a thing that is important. Does that fit in with your reminders that you get from things, or is it different?
Yeah, it's pretty different. They don't overlap. Maybe at all. I try to keep the calendar stuff separate, and I always put stuff on the calendar when it needs to have a specific time, I guess. And usually it needs a specific time and some kind of duration. If it's just a task that might take a minute or 10 minutes or whatever, then we'll just go to the things. But if it's something that is dependent on, or like I'm meeting with other people or anything that's outside just me and my time, and then it goes in the calendar so that I have like a specific start and specific end time, I guess.
Right, like it's very time sensitive.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of them are, work stuff. But every now and then something goes in there, like, some meeting with some friends that I need to leave early or something,
Do you keep those in separate? So like within a digital calendar, you could have multiple calendars rolled into one. Do you keep them within a separate calendar for personal versus work?
Yeah. I use two. One is my own like personal email and calendar, and then the work one. Yeah. Usually when I need to have something like a personal one that blocks work, I guess that's the only time where I can make a duplicate and move it on the work one so that people can't book me for a meeting or something for that half hour. But usually like it's very rare.
I'm sure that there's something that does that basically like copies it over from one calendar to the other and marks it private and blocks your time. But that would be a huge help for me. I'm gonna just take a look right now.
Does that happen often then?
Oh yeah, but it's mostly because like so I'm gonna tell you, I have right now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 calendars that I subscribe to, and actually one of those could be split into 2, so 6.
Wow. Okay.
So my calendar right now, I'm looking at it. It's got green blocks, yellow blocks, black blocks, white blocks, orange blocks. And I think
does it have any like transparent blocks, or is it all fully booked?
It doesn't have. There's like no gaps.
Okay.
There are some gaps, but
Well, But definitely.
But so like I have to manage all that and know what's coming from where, and it'd be nice to just have it all rolled up. Like I have it all rolled up into my Google Calendar for my Artsy account, but it'd be nice to actually like move some of those over without me having to go do it. Because the amount of times I get something scheduled during the time that I pick my kids up from school because I didn't copy it over to this calendar, it's like 3 times a week.
Yeah, that makes sense. Wow. Yeah. Okay. I definitely use this like, once every 2 weeks or something. So it's literally nothing for me to do. But for you, I'm sure there's some kind of scripting situation to do. Yeah. Wow. Okay.
All right. What's up with dark and light mode? You mentioned you like to be able to switch.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess it's kind of a personal issue that I have, that my phone and my laptop don't do the right thing for me automatically, which means, I don't know, the time or the light sensor or something is not correct every time. So I just need something that, with one click I can just switch,
Sure.
So yeah, I have just disabled all automatic things since they have all failed me every time I try. Like they either wait too long or they start too early. So yeah, I just have a nice application that you just right click on the status icon and it just boom, everything swaps. And yeah, the only thing that I have not switching automatically is my terminal, that I am trying to find like a weekend to automate that as well. But yeah, I mean, it's easy enough to just swap it after the one click to the app.
Yeah. Sure. If it was 2 clicks, it would have been automated a long time ago.
Yeah.
So the right thing for you is everything's in dark mode when the sun is down, and everything is in light mode when the sun is up. Is that accurate?
No, for me,
no.
The right thing is, I mean, I guess that's kind of the problem. Like it's whenever I feel like I need dark mode or light mode.
For sure.
So I have been in, the night, but somewhere with a lot of lights, and light mode makes sense, But then there's been other times where I just look at a huge screen of just text and I'm like, I need like to see this in dark mode, even though it's like sun outside. So I just swap over there. So it's not standard, and yeah. Definitely depends on the time and the way I feel with the colors at the time.
Well, I can definitely see how no product would be able to figure that out.
Yeah, and it makes sense, and that's why if it's gonna be manual, it might as well be the easiest way it can be.
Yeah, and fully manual.
Yeah, and then I have everything hooked up to that one thing. So my like terminal, not yet, but it has 2 themes. My editor has 2 themes, like for Firefox and all that stuff. I have extensions that just hook into this one thing, and then I click the button, everything just swaps to dark mode. So that's nice.
I like it.
I definitely had tried to automate this with my own script on in the early days of dark mode, where things were not easy to hook into the system dark mode. And it did work for a while, but then things just kind of became, updated and it worked. So I was like, okay, I don't need this anymore. Easy enough.
Yep, sunset it. So you said that the terminal light/dark mode switching is one thing you're looking to change soon. Are there any other like tools or practices or systems or anything that you're looking to change soon with a weekend full of time?
Yeah, it's a good question. I feel like the things that I have been trying to find time to play around with is, one is the terminal for dark mode, like automatic dark mode. The other one is, like we said, kind of stop using my mouse as much. And I find that I do that mostly for like window management, which
Mm-hmm.
I hate. And I have tried stuff, but nothing stuck with me. So, but I wanna keep trying, until something
Mm-hmm.
works. Yeah, I guess that's kind of the main thing. And the other thing is, I do want to try and have some kind of log, I guess, of what I do, or
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Some people call it, like a journal or like something. And again, I have tried to find automatic or easy ways for this, but nothing has been good enough
Mm-hmm.
for me. And sometimes I also don't even know what I need. So it's just something that I need to play around and decide, I guess.
Yeah. Do you do anything just real basic there, like just dumping stuff into a text file or anything, or writing it down on paper?
No, no,
No.
unfortunately, no. I have tried, using a note or a daily note, or using
Mm-hmm.
the things, and looking yesterday's um, page, or making a script for my Git commits from yesterday and looking at that. But like nothing has stayed with me because all of them are separate. If that makes sense. So, work stuff can come from Git, but also
Sure.
from my calendar, and also from my notes. And then personal stuff could be from my phone and also from my notes and from things. And I would like to have some way to just have all of them throw all of their data in one text file instead of me doing it. And maybe that just means that I should just have a keyboard shortcut or something to just open
Sure.
a little texting, type something, and then go away. I just haven't set something up yet like that.
That's interesting. Have you been thinking about that?
Yeah, yeah.
About what that
Like I
would look
have,
like?
yeah. I think so. There was this terminal app that's called Doing,
Mm.
and it's basically that you type doing now and like a sentence of what you're doing,
Yeah.
and then it just kind of keeps it automatically in some text file, blah blah blah. And I feel like if I just made this pop up whenever I hit some keyboard shortcut, that would be probably enough to start with.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like an easy thing to do, but I haven't done it yet. So that might be a good opportunity for, like one of the next weekends, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I had a reminder in my things app for finding something out for logging. So it comes up
Cool.
every few days. So it will happen, I'm sure.
Do you just like snooze it for a few days every time it comes up? That's what I do with a lot of things that I have reminders for.
Yeah. I feel like I end up just kind of tipping away at it. So, whenever
Yeah.
I see it, I'm like, okay, let's just Google for like 5 minutes and see what others are doing, or if there's some cool application or whatever that's ready.
Sure.
And then after this kind of short research, I'm like, okay, in 3 days, and then do the same thing until I find something or I have like 3 hours to do it myself. Yeah.
Yeah. I like that strategy of actually just like chipping away at it each time it comes up versus what I typically do is just like
Yeah.
think about the fact that I need to do this and then just hit snooze. Um,
Yeah, I mean, it is also kind of depressing at the same time because, like, I take a look and I'm like, man, nothing is working well, or
yeah,
I need more, or I need less. And
right.
then I'm
No
like, okay,
progress
it's in
here.
3 days. Yeah. But still, it's progress, but,
Yeah,
it's still hard.
yeah. So with that, I think this is kind of I see now that earlier in the discussion when I was talking about how I use Todoist, that there was some intrigue on your part in terms of like, do you use that retrospectively to look back and figure out what are the things that you've done? And that's what this is about for you. What's the goal with being able to look back on the things that you've been doing?
Mostly like exactly that, to just look back and have some kind of some kind of log of what happened. The most often usages, I guess, of it, or the things that I would use it more often, would be, doing the stand-up, for example, like knowing what I did yesterday, right? That's easy enough. But then I found that sometimes I end up trying to remember what I did by like looking at my photos or whatever, or just kind of finding other ways to remember what I did specific days or specific like weeks or whatever. And I feel like there's not enough data for me about me, So yeah, I thought having some easy way to do this will give me the data that I need, and then I can see, am I using this for everything? Am I using this just for yesterday? Am I using this to generate something else? Yeah, does that make sense?
I think so. I think what I'm hearing is that like you aren't really sure what you want to do with it until you actually see what the data is.
Yeah, exactly. Like I know that I need, a little bit from yesterday and a little bit from days here and there, but I feel like having more would be nice. To look back at. But yeah, it feels like maybe that's part of the reason why I haven't done it yet, because I don't have a specific goal or need or thing to do with this data, even though I know that I want it. So then having to spend a lot of effort to just record this in hopes that it will be used makes it harder. And if I have it really, really easy to document this, or ideally automated, then I don't need to do anything. It's just there, and then I can use it or not use it if I feel like it,
Yeah, that's cool. So that sounds like something that I look forward to in the future, where you have kind of figured out a little bit and written some amazing tools to collect all of it, because that seems like the kind of thing that you'll end up doing.
Let's hope. Yeah.
Is there anything that you could tell me about times that like all of these things have failed you, or maybe on the contrary, like it's been a huge success, and the reason that it was successful for you was because you were using this tool or this like practice or something?
Yeah. Interesting. I guess. Yeah, we can start with the first question, which I think is nice. So yeah, I did try to think about this, about times where my systems failed me or that made it not work well. I feel like, I guess one quick one that I can talk about is related to all the to-do stuff. So before using things, the application I used another one that was called the hit list, just another one. And it was great. I really liked it. It had everything I needed. And then at some point, I don't remember why, I had to stop using. Maybe it was just not updated anymore. Maybe it didn't work anymore. I don't remember exactly why. But I had to just find an alternative, right? So I found another one. And then I ended up not moving anything from the old one to the new one, because I just had I had it in my mind that like at some point one day I will just move everything, and then I just never did, and then I had this application no more, and then I just left like I just lost all this data or to-dos or notes or whatever. And that's that's one way, I guess, that my lack of use of systems failed me, I guess.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's like a story about not owning your own data too, right?
Yeah. That's true. And to be honest, with things, I'm not sure this is improved for me, but because it's still in the cloud or whatever. But it might be a good thing to just check for me. And then another one that I have that's kind of a recent example, and I've had a conversation about this with my brother as well, is that I don't know if you can call it my system, but I really like using betas or like unreleased or early release, blah, blah,
Sure.
software. So one thing, I use Firefox. I used Firefox beta for a long time. And one day, last week or the week before, it would just not load anything.
Oh
And I was
no.
like, that's interesting. Then I open up Chrome, I open up Safari, and they both work. And then go back to Firefox, and nothing was working. I was like, that's strange. I load up normal Firefox, and it was working. And that made me very sad because that meant that I had to not use the beta for a little bit.
Yeah.
But I was so stubborn that I didn't want to use the regular one, that I just looked for alternative browsers first, and then ended up finding another one called WaterFox, which is
Okay.
just a clone of Firefox, but it allows you to add Chrome extensions as well.
That's
and they
neat.
have removed some of the junk, like the Pocket and some other Mozilla stuff. So I was like,
Sure.
maybe that's even better. And then I used that. And for a few days, it was great. And then one day, Google was not loading. More specific, like not nothing, but like Google. And then I tried, again, all the other stuff, and they were working. And I was like, okay, then I guess, I guess this is it. I'm not using any browser anymore. And then the last step was to update the Firefox beta. And thankfully they had fixed the issue that I had before. So everything was working again on Firefox beta. And then I started using Firefox beta again. And yeah, I guess that's one way again that they kind of showed that they're not working maybe well, but that's my choice. So that's
well, you got to go like have this experience with this new browser that you wouldn't have had if Firefox beta had worked the entire
that's
time.
true. That's true. Yeah, definitely.
I love it. Cool.
And then, what was the other one? Something that worked well, right?
Things that have, where it's been like a success story.
Yeah. I guess, I don't know. For this one, I feel like, it's a success like every day that I don't have to think about my systems, right? I feel like this is probably the best example. Like, I don't know, I have this script that I have named OX. So I just hit OX in my terminal, and it opens up the closest Xcode project file. A very specific thing, but I just use it so often, and it would take me, 3 seconds to do it every time. But I was like, no more. And I just made a script of like 10 lines, and now it does it, and it works great. And I feel like every time I use it, I get like this satisfaction of, how it doesn't get any better. And I feel like, this is kind of the success stories, I guess, when it works and you're like, I need to change nothing.
It's kind of like that XKCD comic that you were talking about earlier. How many times you do it versus how much time does it take you to do each one versus how much time does it take to automate it. But like those simple little like aliases in your terminal that save you from typing 3 lines instead of 1. Those are amazing. Even if you only do them, because I think they also pay off on the other end where like you never do them. And so you don't remember what the 3 commands are that you need to do, but then I just do like console prod, which I never connect to the production console, but when I do it once a month or whatever, I just have that
it
does it for me.
No, for sure. I've definitely used some of those, and I feel like this specific one has definitely paid off, in time. Maybe just a few minutes, but it is there.
Cool. Pavlos, are there any things here that you wanted to talk about that we didn't get to talk about?
I don't think so. Yeah, no, I think we talked about a bunch of stuff. Yeah, excellent. The list, has more, but I feel like everything is kind of tying in with what we talked about in one way or the other. While I was looking at the notes here, I read one sentence I had, which was funny, and about the keyboard, because I wrote a bunch about the keyboard. But one of the things was that my fingers know where things are, but when I need to find them, like my brain doesn't know. And that was just like a funny thing, because when I need to put a parenthesis, like I know where it is when I'm typing, but if someone comes to my keyboard and is like, where's the parenthesis? I have like I need to think for 4 seconds, and be like, okay, hit this and like hit probably that one. Anyway,
I love that. It's like pure muscle memory. That makes sense, because I do always struggle when I use a different keyboard, and I not necessarily like hit slash when I shouldn't, but like I'm like hitting a key or trying to reach a key, and I'm like, oh, that's not it. Where is it? And that is frustrating.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Anyway, okay.
All right, Pavlos. Thanks for hanging out. This was awesome, and I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. That was cool. Yeah. See you.
Thanks for listening to another episode of a Developer Experience podcast. Thanks to my guest, Pavlos Vinieratos. You can find him just about anywhere on the internet under the username Pvinis. That's Pvinis. If you like the show, support it at the podcast home, anchor.fm/a-developer-experience. I'm Steve Hicks. Check stephenhicks.me/where to find me on the internet. Take care, friends.